We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast.
All right, here it is. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 23 of the BCSN Nation podcast, presented to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go, Sports Bar. I am Brandon Carnes here with my ever-present friends, Mike Robb over here on my left, Justin Feldkamp on my right. Gentlemen, we are in the final stretch of the winter sports season. Basketball in the final month. We've got Division I bracket stuff we'll talk about later. If you are the head coach of a team right now in the middle of this last stretch, what is your pep speech, your end of practice, your locker talk to the team to keep them driving through? Justin, we'll let you go first.
What type of team do you want to be? I'd say remain locked in. If you're a team that's worth a darn, who has a shot at winning some games in the tournament, you better be locked in already, and then you're going to have to remain locked in. Don't let one loss be a disaster in the final stretch of the season, and then you just got to finish. And then I would speak to my seniors who should be leaders of the team. What kind of legacy, what kind of impression do you want to leave here in your final games in a uniform to pass along to the juniors who will be seniors, to the sophomores who will be juniors? You got to leave that impression by leaving it all out there.
Coach Mike Robb, time to live up to the coach speak.
Well, you know what? It just depends on what kind of team you got. You know, where you're at in the season. Have you won one game only? Or have you won almost all games except for one? You know, so it depends on where my team is. If my team has not won many games at all and we're on the bottom half, I just look at my seniors, and then I look past them, and I look at the sophomores and the freshmen and say, don't end up like these guys. But that's a private conversation. But I would have that conversation with them and say, hey, the leadership wasn't there. The dedication wasn't there. Is that how you want to leave your legacy? So you got to motivate that next batch of guys to get ready so you don't continue to have these seasons or you won't have a job as a coach.
Yeah, Mike Robb, keeping it real. One thing we called this in the wrestling room, this stretch of the season, we call this peaking season, right? You want to be at your peak of your game because you know the people you're going to find in your league tournaments, your state tournaments, district tournaments, they are putting in the work right now. If you want to be at that level, you have to be at your peak. We call this peaking season. Coming up on our peaking season, we've got our Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. We'll talk about, like I mentioned, the Northwest District girls brackets that came out. We'll preview, obviously, our game of the week. We'll get our clip of the week and so much more. So make sure you're staying tuned. And it's peaking season every Wednesday right here at 4 p.m. on BCSN. Catch our new episodes of the podcast either here, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Head yourself over to bcsnnation.com/podcast if you're heading over that way. But make sure you also follow us on all of our social media. It's at BCSN Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I know I said MySpace last week. I checked. We're not there. I don't want to give you false advertising. You know, somebody that isn't false advertising. They're above as advertised is the Clay Eagles. That's where we'll start our show this week. The boys basketball team, under the tutelage and leadership of new head coach Lionel Armstead, have completely turned around this program essentially in the last, 4 or 5 months. And I'm sure it started long in the summer. We'll get into that too. This is a team and a program that over the last 3 seasons combined for 8 wins. This is a team that hasn't had a winning season since 2004-2005. Haven't had a 10-win season since 05-06. Here they are at 11-6 after a win over Bowser last night. 5-1, tied atop the NLL Cardinal. How has a head coach like Lionel Armstead, formerly at Emmanuel Christian, come in and completely revamped this program, Mike?
Well, you know what? It started with just, Lionel's lineage and what he's done as a player. I remember I always got the story about Lionel, back when I was in college and we used to play basketball in the rec center. He was always the most dominant player in the rec. And that was the fun thing about him. But as a coach, he's kind of the same way he was as a player. Smooth. He always knew what he wanted. He was always in control of every situation. And when you look at this Clay Eagles team, you talked about keeping it real. I'm gonna stay on that task there. They were the bottom team in the track, but now they're a top team in the NLL. That just tells you how good the track was compared to the NLL. I mean, when the bottom team is now competing for a top spot, Clay Eagles have not been that bad. They've just been playing against really, really good competition over the past few years. And not just in basketball, but in football as well, because we saw the same difference happen on the football field. So everyone's like, man, Clay Eagles, they're coming out of nowhere. No, they just been playing against really high caliber talent. And now they're able to have those young sophomores who are now juniors and seniors and coming up in this program. They've played against the Central Catholics, the St. John's, the Whitmers, the Finleys, the Fremonts. And now they get to play against some teams in the conference that's not as up to par as them. So now they get a chance to shine on a playing field where they've always been good, but now it's their moment. It's their moment.
All right, I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
The rebuttal,
Mike,
it's here.
I think Clay had to have a coach that matters. You talked about the last time they had a winning record. Who was their head coach? Joe Guerrero,
right.
Someone who's widely respected across the entire 419. Recently retired. He's been in a number of stops, including Clay and Bowser. And then Lionel Armstead. Coaching matters, regardless of what league or conference you're in. Yes, the track was great, but so is the top tier of the NLL. And I just love the fact that what he brought to the team. When he had his introductory, hey, meet the community, meet all the different players who have been in the program. He said, if you don't want to work hard, pointed to the door and said, go ahead and leave.
There it is.
Oh, my gosh. If I'm a player, if I'm a parent of a player, I'm like, yes, this is my guy. He's been there, done that, went to Emmanuel Christian, averaged 30-plus his junior year, all-state recognition, went to West Virginia University, played 4 years there, averaged double figures. So he knows what he's talking about. He's walked the walk. He's talked the talk. He's played at a high level. And then he came back to his alma mater. And I'll leave it this way. Lionel Armstead was not the problem at Emmanuel Christian. Lionel Armstead was not the problem at Emmanuel Christian. I'll leave it at that.
Understood.
Taking an opportunity at Clay and delivering the goods right away. So coaching definitely matters. They're at an 8 RPI. Across all the Division I teams in our area, they're 8 RPI. Think of all the teams that are above them. We're talking Whitmer and Findlay and Perrysburg,
right.
state-ranked teams, or Perrysburg knocked off a state-ranked team in Findlay. So, yeah, they came and delivered, and he made sure that they were going to build it the right way, and they've done a great job. Mason Heichel, Amir Walker, Jay Williams, Aiden Berryman, Logan Longinus, Lucas Jeremy, so many different guys up and down the list have done such a great job for them on the court.
So no Lionel Armstead, not the problem, Emmanuel Christian. He is the solution, it seems like, at Clay. They'll have a chance this Friday to play for essentially a Cardinal Division championship. They match up with Southfield. We'll get into talking about that a little bit later. But from one star as an Eagle to the Village for our Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. All right, I mentioned we're heading over to the Village. Well, shout out to Rhett Boyd. He made this selection in our poll this week. Chance Coy is our Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week for the Green Bears. 59-49 win for the team over Northwood last Friday. 22 points coming from Mr. Coy himself. That's a season sweep for them over the Rangers. He had, get this, 18 points from three-point range. He had 6 triples, and 11 of those 22 points for Coy came in the fourth quarter. So a very clutch time for Mr. Coy in that win over Northwood. What are you guys' thoughts on Mr. Chance Coy?
I just like how he recognizes spacing. If you're knocking down threes, you know where to be on the court. You know, most kids at the high school level are not knocking down threes with a clear-cut hand in your face. You know, not too many Steph Currys out there on the floor. So understanding spacing. When you're in a fast break and you don't clog the lanes, you let your teammate dribble, drive,
right,
and then if a
space.
defense collapses, you take a few steps backward, get outside on the wing, get in the corner, three-point land, and then triple threat position, get ready to shoot the ball, and that's what he did. I mean, he was consistent. It's been a up and down season for Ottawa Hills in the sense that they've had double-digit losses to the 3 TAC teams who are state-ranked teams, Emmanuel Christian, Toledo Christian, Maumee Valley Country Day. But any John Lindsay coach team is going to have the effort and the desire and then the smarts. Sometimes he's not going to have the elite athletes or a fantastic team from beginning of the season to the end, but they made it count in the win over Northwood. You got to win the games you're supposed to win, and that was the case for them. And then Chance Coy, great job getting the job done, relying upon a lot of his teammates to get him the ball, and he knocked him down.
Are you talking about good coaching, right? And how do you coach those things in practice, Mike, to make sure you're working on that spacing for pivotal moments like the fourth quarter where they needed him?
I mean, discipline. You practice situations, and that's what practice is. It's just situational basketball or situational in any sport, and that's what you're seeing here. You mean, look at Ottawa Hills. They haven't lost more than 2 games in a row all season. They'll win 2, lose 2, win 1, lose 1, back and forth all season. So they're consistently a good basketball club. But they got to find a way to just, get over that hump, and that's what Coy's doing for this team.
Shout out Chance Coy, our Sean's Irish Tavern Player of the Week. Chance is not coy about being clutch in the fourth quarter, I'll take my leave. That's all I need to say today. We'll get on to actually one of our great athletes. We talked about mentioning some of our best 20 male and female athletes. This week, we are going to head to another Eagle. If you're keeping tabs, started with Clay. Now we're going to the Notre Dame Eagles side of things. 𝗦𝗫𝗍 Barron this week we're going to mention as one of our 20 best female athletes of the last 20 years on BCSN. Her list of accomplishments is long. I'll get into it. A 4-time letter winner at Notre Dame while she was there. 3 times she's the track player of the year. 2-time district player of the year. 3-time All-Ohio first team. 62 career goals, 28 assists. She took it up another level at the University of Cincinnati. She was a 4-time All-AAC first teamer. 2nd all-time there in minutes. 9th all-time in 81 career starts. And get this stat. This is my favorite out of everything. She is the only AAC male or female athlete across any sport to be a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner.
Wow.
It is a crazy stat. Shout out to 𝗦𝗫𝗍 Barron. Justin, you got the chance to have some conversations with Ashley.
Yeah, she's been successful anywhere and everywhere she's been, coming up through grade school, junior high, then at Notre Dame, and then at the University of Cincinnati. You listed it off. It makes sense when you have all of these bullet points that they make our list as the top 20 female or top 20 male athletes of the BCSN era. She was hoping to get drafted by the NWSL, one of the 14 teams in that professional women's organization in the United States, but did not. But she got invited to Gotham FC, based out of New York, New Jersey area.
Last year's champs.
Correct. And had a potential opportunity to begin training camp with them, but saw an opportunity overseas in Sweden in the top Swedish women's organization over there, in the league over there. So she's going to take that opportunity. And the coach over there was just gushing about how valuable that she will be on this team. He just loved the fact that she played so well and brought up all those accolades that you just mentioned from the University of Cincinnati. So many other players go succeed overseas, whether you're talking men's basketball or women's soccer. And this is going to be her opportunity to go over there, play professionally, get foreign experience, and just have that life experience is going to be great for her. And then to potentially come back and maybe secure a spot in the USL or the NWSL, because she did speak to Taylor Leach, who's another one of our top female athletes. She went to Anthony Wayne and then played at the University of South Carolina and then professionally in the United States. So she's at Pacesetter Soccer Club, as was Ashley back in her playing days prior to college. So one local person helping out another local person with some professional advice. And Taylor Leach impressed that upon 𝗦𝗫𝗍 Barron, and that's what Ashley's going to do, and we wish her well.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the ability Justin talked about to be able to take yourself overseas to gain not just like more sport experience, but just becoming more worldly in a way for her too?
You know, it's crazy, you know, getting involved with the IFL, you know, this summer came here, you know, it opened up my eyes to things abroad and how many good opportunities there are for the American citizens to be able to travel abroad and play sports and do the things that you love, and to be able to go get that experience is second to none. You know, to do what you love, to experience a new place in a different place in the world. You know, I think it's just a great opportunity for that young lady and her family.
Yeah, Ashley mentioned being excited to be able to start a new adventure over in Sweden. She said she chose KIF. I'm going to try and say this. All right, KIF Örebro. All right, we're going to go with that's my pronunciation.
Sounds good.
The best I know about Sweden is IKEA and the meatballs, so don't ask me too much about what else is going on over there. She talked about being focused on the players' development as individual and teams over there, so we wish Ashley the best of luck. We'll bring it back stateside. More importantly, we'll bring it over to Start High School this week for our Clip of the Week, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. All right, I mentioned it's at Start High School. This is the Mrs. K Memorial Tournament at Start High School over the weekend. You're watching the 190-pound final for the women's tournament. None other than the great Savannah Isaac being a bully, as she is one to do on the mat. You'll see her step up here. We'll get this thing running back. Savannah, obviously a 3-time state champion, multiple-time national champion. She's a girls Ironman champion. What you got?
We need something from you. Like,
you want the big play breakdown?
Yeah, we want you to give the big play. Go ahead, break it down.
She's going to hammer the head there, right? That's going to set up her underhook. She's going to try and throw that for a single leg. She's so mean and strong. She puts the girl on her face. See her catch that near elbow. She's going to put it up on her thigh here. That's called a Blair ride, right? She's taking big steps. Where that elbow goes, the upper body's going to go. And then you see her arch her back, look up. That keeps all of her weight, flattens her down. Gets the pin, 4 seconds left in the first period. Vanna, the 190-pound champ. I've had a lot of time spent getting beat up and beating up this young lady in a wrestling room. So she is a tremendous talent. We all know about
Careful,
how
we got HR on
great
line
she
one.
is.
HR on line one.
Listen, she's a bully, and she will get treated as such.
I mean, look, the way she just tossed the young lady down there, obviously
she's different.
She's competing really hard, little girl from Northwest, but Savannah, just the physicality, look at that. I mean, it was over right there, in my opinion. I mean, once she hit the ground, I'm assuming that she got roughed up a little bit.
Yeah, you see the
prior
score
to this.
13-1. It was already being roughed up until this point, and it's the first period. You don't see a lot of 13-1 scores ending a first period unless you're watching,
I just love
one of the greats of Northwest Ohio history in wrestling.
I just love nowadays, you got the kids in the background, TikToking this, getting it on Snapchat or whatever they're doing, man.
You've got somebody who founded and was kind of a leader for a lot of women's wrestling in Northwest Ohio. Behind her is Serenity Thomas, who I did a story on years ago now on BCSN, who was a great wrestler here and worked at club team at Toledo. She's one of the coaches over at Whitmer. But shout out Vanna, our renewal by Anderson clip of the week, 190-pound champion over the Mrs. K Memorial Tournament. If you want more highlights just like this one, you can follow us over on TikTok at BCSN Sports. We are racking up followers, getting us closer to 10,000. We want you to be one of those 10,000. Let us invade your For You page. Next up, we're going to go back to the village. We haven't spent enough time there. It's a lovely place. There's deer running about. We're going to our student section of the week winner this week, the Green Bears. They get 2 awards. They're very special this week. Our student section of the week, we're going to bring them the chain this Friday. Make sure you guys decide what your theme's going to be. Whatever it's going to be, go all out so we can bring you this award. They're going to host Emmanuel. You mentioned some of the struggles they might have had in the TAC top teams. Emmanuel at home this Friday for the Green Bears.
Yeah, and if you're going to knock off a state-ranked team,
do it with the chain.
You need your student section,
There you
baby.
go.
So
Absolutely.
Ottawa Hills, Green Bears, show up and show out. You guys have earned it. I love going to Ottawa Hills football games. It's a smaller school, but they all
The
can
environment,
walk.
right.
They can all walk to the stadium, and they're ready to rock up in the bleachers, and hopefully they can pack the gym on Friday night and possibly pull an upset. They're going to need that student section. They're going to need coaching, and they're going to need some talent on the floor to knock down some shots.
Hey, hopefully they get it. Hopefully, it's a nice thing for whoever's bringing our chain out. It's a very short drive for them from the 13 ABC studio. We're being gas conscious. We're being green. All right, we're going to move on from our chain bringing championships to a team trying to win championships in the Northwest District. Girls basketball, the bracket dropped over the weekend. You might have seen it on Sports Nightly. We're going to bring it back up for you, though. Here you'll see the Northwest District 1. We've got Anthony Wayne, obviously the number 1 seed in this district. They're going to host number 21, Wait. That'll be on the 24th. You got Wapak and Springfield. Winner of that gets Ashland. Mansfield, Madison, Lima Senior. Winner of that will get Findlay. Tiffin Columbian and Notre Dame. Winner of that will take on Bowser from this side. The interesting thing for the state brackets in Division I and across the state this year is all of these seeds are decided by RPI this year instead of coaches' votes and things like that. They're all going to be played on the higher seeds home turf until we get to the district semis and onwards, and we'll see those neutral sites at Lake. Is there a matchup that you see on the screen here that jumps out to you, Justin?
Yeah, I'm interested. I think Notre Dame Academy is going to beat Tiffin Columbian there and then face Bowser. I know Mike Rob's been big on the Bowser boys basketball team, but the Bowser girls have played well in spurts this season, so I could see that Notre Dame Bowser game being a close matchup. Bowser played Central Catholic girls, very close, so I don't think that's a clear Notre Dame easily over Bowser. I'll still take Notre Dame in that matchup, and then I think Notre Dame could take down Findlay, but the cream of the crop on this full screen right here is Anthony Wayne, number 4 in the state, and I think it should be a pretty easy run for them for a district title, and then we'll see what happens at the regionals.
Yeah, a lot of this side of the bracket seems like, how long can I avoid playing Anthony Wayne? So if you're on the bottom side of the bracket, maybe you're a little better in favor. Wait, going up against a juggernaut in the first round. We can slide on over to Northwest District 2. There you go. You see it up on the screen. We've got Fremont Ross taking on the winner of Bowling Green or St. Ursula. Start in Sandusky should be a really good one there. Harrisburg, Southview, winner of that will take Clay. That one will be an interesting one I'll touch on here in a second. And then obviously you've got your Cardinal matchup, Northview and Whitmer. The Clay and Southview or in Perrysburg kind of jumble up is interesting because the higher seeds got their choice here on where they wanted to play first. Perrysburg decided not to take a first-round bye, and that slid Clay into that spot. They decided to get a game first under their belt. What do you think, Mike, that does for a team to kind of get that playoff traction rolling?
I mean, you put yourself in scary territory when you do that to a team in your league.
Right.
Because basically you're telling Southview, hey, this is this is a warm-up game. We're going to come in your gym, and we're going to put it to you. Now, granted, it may happen, but at the same time, if you're Southview, you're looking at this and you're chomping at the bit if you're Dennis Springs saying, hey, I'm sorry, on the girl side, I'm sorry, you're looking at this and saying, hey, this is something that we're going to take personal, and this could be our last game. This is when you go for it, like Justin said.
Yeah, Whitmer Northview are there at the bottom. That's a league matchup once again, so that'll be the third time they have played. This game will be played in the regular season and then again in the postseason. So it'll be potentially a best-of-3 series there, depending on the outcome of the last one of the regular season. Fremont Ross has been great. Destiny Robinson has been fantastic, a future UT Rocket. Perrysburg, I think, has flown under the radar just a little bit, just because they're in the same division as Anthony Wayne, and Anthony Wayne is state ranked.
Yeah.
Anthony Wayne has handled Perrysburg in the regular season matchups, but I see Perrysburg advancing here, and I see Fremont Ross advancing here. We will have that Start Sandusky game live on the BCSN app, and then both of these girls brackets that we've been talking about, we will have the semifinals of the districts and the finals of the districts live on the BCSN app on those designated dates that you see towards the end of February and then early March.
Yeah, I have a lot of interest. Like, if you ask Rhett Boyd will tell you that the Perrysburg girls team is among the hottest teams in the area across boys or girls. So he's big on the Perrysburg ladies side. Start Sandusky is interesting to me because Start wins that one, and they get potentially a rematch with Fremont Ross, which those two teams played a really competitive game not too long ago. So I'm interested to see if Start continuing to grow, facing off against, like you said, Destiny Robinson and Fremont Ross. Like I said, all these games for the first couple rounds will be at the higher seeds home gym before we start getting into. Yeah, I like the change. Being able to get some home playoff games is huge. We see it in football. We see it in the other sports, so it plays a big impact in the environment. Get to bring some chains out to some home playoff games, maybe. I like that idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. I mean, you got to reward regular season success.
Exactly.
And, I'm in general, neutral sites in the postseason, I'm open to that as well. But we did see it in football, where the first 2 rounds now with the expanded playoffs in football, where the first 2 rounds are at the highest seed home venue. So I'm okay with that. I think people earn it. And for the most part, when you're talking about these matchups where, Fremont Ross is going to skate easy over the winner of that BG St. Ursula game, it's not as if you take this game on a neutral site, it's going to dramatically impact the outcome in these first sectional games. As it currently stands now, there is some movement at the OHSA level, and that maybe is a topic for a future podcast, but expanding girls and boys basketball divisions from the current 4 all the way up to 7, which would even the playing field a little bit. I know you're going to have people who are for it, people who are against it. So we will see how that plays out. We have already done it with football. We've had the expanded 7 divisions, and then we expanded with those divisions to more teams in each of those divisions. So it is kind of the nature of the beast and where things are going. But again, another topic for another podcast.
Boys bracket will drop this weekend. Hockey bracket drops tonight, I believe. So make sure you keep in tune for those. Yes. So we'll go from playoff basketball to what might as well be playoff basketball this Friday, our Dunn Chevy in Oregon game of the week. All right, guys, it's finally here. We've been talking about this matchup between one team or the other for the last few weeks and building it up, and hopefully it lives up to all of our expectations. It's a battle atop the NLL Buckeye for the guys. Number 5, now you see it on your screen, against number 6, Findlay. Whitmer jumping Findlay in the state polls this week, despite that loss that came back in December. Whitmer on a 10-game win streak since that loss to Findlay, averaging 76 points per game in their wins. Findlay obviously topped Whitmer 67-45. Back in December, lost to Perrysburg on the 26th, but they're only giving up 38 points per game. I mentioned it before in the last few podcasts, but this seems like a matchup that, we've just been waiting for weeks now, drooling, salivating over it, but it seems like the unstoppable force in this Whitmer offense meets the immovable object in the way Findlay is able to play defense, and can they do the exact same things they did to the Panthers the first time they matched up, Justin?
Yeah, you mentioned the one little nick there on Findlay's schedule. They lost to Perrysburg at Perrysburg in a BCSN game of the week, and a game that came down to the wire. So that is the one blemish since that win over Whitmer. But hats off to both of them, because we could have had some pitfalls and some unnecessary losses, if you will. But both of these teams have gotten to this point. Both of them are 15-1 overall. Both of them are 4-1. in their division in the Northern Lakes League. So this has all the makings of a juicy, juicy matchup. And you mentioned that final score back on December 22nd, 67-45. You know, that's not a one-possession game. That's 7, 8, 9 possession game.
That was a time when Whitmer was scoring almost 81 points a game.
And Anthony Stacey, the head coach for the Panthers, said it. We got outplayed, out-toughed, and out-coached. I don't know how else you can describe it. That's as to the point and a singular statement as possible that you can say to your program. He brought the coaches in there. He didn't place blame on just the players. That was across the board. Mm-hmm. But I think this matchup, Mike Robb, we know about Antoine West, Mekhi Leach, Will Cordonier, and Javonte Hill. All 4 on our top 30 first-team All-BCSN candidate list presented by Midas. But this is going to be like Elijah McLeod, Napoleon Jemison, Andre Young, Ben Best, Luke Weirout, Ryan Montgomery, and Sam Ernst. Those role players, the 3rd, 4th, 5th guys on the starting rotation or the 6th guy off the bench, those guys are going to have key moments. Not necessarily break off and go for 18 or 22, but value the ball, possess the ball, smart plays, no turnovers, knocking down open shots, making free throws, making smart, heady plays that sometimes key plays happen in the 2nd quarter or the 3rd quarter, not necessarily crunch time. It's what dictates the point into the outcome at the very end with something early on. You know, be smart. Don't get in foul trouble. Have your key players in the game the entirety of the game. Don't put pressure on a coach like, rely on someone who hasn't been in a reliable situation all season long. So it's not just going to be the star players in this game.
Mike, I know you got excited when he said free throws.
Hey, free throws are only free.
No one appreciates free throws like Mike Robb.
Hey, you got to make them. We're sending Dr. Dishes out to everybody, Make sure you get your shots up. But importantly, this game here has a lot of implications in league title, And if you're Whitmer, you join the NLL because you want to win some titles. Yeah. You want to get some championships, and right now you're going to get a share of that. But if you're Findlay, you're like, hey, if we lose this, then we did all this for naught. Is that right there, Justin? Would that be the case?
Well, there's still a little bit more to play. Perrysburg's will play a factor because the final regular season game is not until February 23rd. So, I mean, you're correct in saying that a big-time impact, crucial when it comes to the overall title, but it's not. No one's going to clinch a title with this game.
Got you. So with that being said, though, this is a coaching game. I think that this is going to come down to Coach Ruckey stepping up and protecting his home court. Yeah. Where this game is probably going to come into, maybe a few points, maybe 5 to 6 points here. And I think that Findlay pulls this out. I think that they have the well-roundedness to be able to get it done. They've played at a high level all season long. They know what it felt like. They beat Whitmer on the road. Now they got to protect their home court. If I'm Findlay, this is you got to win this basketball game here, and you got to play smart. And defense wins championships, and that's where it's got to start at for Findlay. And they've played pretty solid all season.
And one more note about that: in the first matchup, Findlay packed the lane, forced the key players for Whitmer to shoot over top of them from the outside. So I'm curious the strategy, the game plan from the coaching staff to counter that. We'll see what Anthony Stacey brings out this time around after live and learn. And now approach this next matchup.
Justin took the words right out of my mouth. I got nothing left to say. Let's just throw up the graphic. Let's see what else we got going on Friday night. We obviously mentioned live on the community channel, 7:15 p.m., our game of the week. What else is up there, Justin, that really catches your eye?
Yeah, live on linear TV on community channel. If you got Buckeye broadband, you'll have access to that, and all the games are on the app as well. City League Championship, we'll find out who is in that. We'll like to see possibly Rogers. I'm big on Rogers. I think Rogers is ready for a big run in the postseason, and they can start it with the City League Championship on Friday night. We got Southview Clay. We mentioned that. First place in the Cardinal Division on the line there in the NLL. Scott and Bowser. Scott lost to Southview earlier this week. And then we got Emmanuel Christian, Ottawa Hills, Napoleon BG, Maumee at Otsego, and Fremont Ross Springfield. Springfield got a win against Woodward. And we'll see if they can add another win to their column there against Fremont Ross.
And I want to go back into that Whitmer-Findlay game. This is a marquee game for Antoine West.
Okay.
You are the best basketball player in this region. Okay. Sometimes you got to step up and you got to prove it and you got to show it. So this is a game for him to showcase why he is the number one guy in this area, because sometimes you got to carry the team, you got to carry the load, and that's what I'm expecting Antoine West to have a dominant game.
All right, Antoine, I hope you're listening, because Mike Robb says you got to bring your game on Friday. We're going to bring our game right here next week, February 14th. It's a beautiful, lovely day at 4 p.m. on BCSN. Listen to us on podcasts, anywhere you get them, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, BCSNNation.com/podcast. Follow Justin, myself, Mike Rabb on Twitter, at Justin Feldkamp, Coach _Mike Robb, at Carnes Brandon. We'll catch you next week.